And a good evening, everybody out there, and welcome to this latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot live here on the Gryd Network. I am your host / moderator, Bryson Carver, and we've got an excellent show on tap for you guys tonight with three great panelists, all of them, of course, members of the Gryd Network. I'm going to start with the newest member of the 8 o'clock spot, making his debut on the show. It is the co-host, one half of the Outside the Cage podcast here on the Gryd Network. It's the best MMA podcast out there. Would you please welcome Eric Van Lenten? Did I say your name right, Eric?
You did. You nailed it.
There you go. Eric, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well in the real world, but more importantly in the sports world, I've been down in the dumps lately, man. It's been a rough October, September for me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
For those of you that are listening to the podcast episode of this, Eric's wearing a Daniel Jones jersey, so obviously he's a Giants fan. It's just it's not been a great year for the Giants thus far, but he's still repping. I respect it. To our second panelist, my friend, and I mean this, my true buddy, Devin Nettles, the host of the At the Banks podcast here on the Gryd, as well as the My Thoughts, My Opinion podcast. Devin, what happened between the Ravens and Steelers on Sunday? I didn't check the game out. What happened, Dev?
Oh, you gonna slide like that to the people? You just want
me
to say? Oh, all right. The Ravens choked. He choked it. They gave that game away, man. Oh my goodness. I swear. If I had my voice on Sunday, y'all would have heard me. I'd have hopped on that that post-game show. I'd have let the Ravens have it. 8 drops from taking over the AFC North. This 8 drops. It's like unbelievable. But ladies and gentlemen, I will not be big trusting Bryce for the next several weeks. I know y'all enjoyed it. It was fun while it lasted. But a bet is a bet. I can't big trust Bryce no more until last week of the season. And when they come to the bank, I will be big trusting again.
Okay, we'll see. By the way, so I get to big trust you, I guess, until early to mid January. And see, for some reason, Kenny Pickett just turns into Tom Brady against the Ravens in the last 2 minutes. Just the man has the clutch gene, and George Pickens coming through as he has so often for my Steelers. Let's go Pittsburgh. Finally, our last panelist, a very happy guy. His Jets come off a big win against the Broncos. We're going to talk about that in our last segment. Would you please welcome Alfred Parsard Jr. Alfred, great win for your Jets. How are you feeling right now, though, about the MLB playoffs? I know you had some thoughts on that.
So as everybody knows, I don't have a dog in the fight. I hate the Phillies and the Braves equally, but go Dodgers.
Wow. Okay. Well, they're in a rough spot right now. Down 0-2 to the Diamondbacks.
They may not even be in the race in the next couple of days.
We'll see. It's looking rough for them right now, especially pitching-wise. But let's get into, before we get into our first segment, let's look at our leaderboard through the first part of this new 8 o'clock spot episode. So, of course, Barry Grant Jr. is still in first place at over 42,000 points. He is followed by Alfred Parsard Jr., Devin Nettles, Mike Guido, Dalton Brown, Adam Bessie, John Rivera, and at the bottom there, Alex Johnson. So, some great panelists, some great games thus far. It's actually 10 episodes in, so a little bit of a mini milestone for the 8 o'clock spot. So, very exciting night for us. Let's look at, though, our first round rules. You guys know how it goes by this point. If you don't, it's a great take awards you 200 points. A good take gives you 100 points. An okay take gives you 50. And a bad take, you get a big fat goose egg. You get 0 points for that. Our first topic came from the most highly anticipated game from week 5, the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers, in which the 49ers walloped Dallas by a final score of 42-10. And obviously, an incredible game for Brock Purdy, for George Kittle, for the Niners defense. But the big conversation has been surrounding the Dallas Cowboys, surrounding the quarterback, Dak Prescott, surrounding the head coach, Mike McCarthy, and the defense, which was incredible through the first 4 weeks, but then giving up 42 to San Francisco. So I'll start with you, Eric. You're the Giants fan, so I can't imagine you care too much for Dallas. Who does this loss fall the most on for the Cowboys? Is it Dak Prescott? Is it Mike McCarthy? Or is it the defense?
So I'll start with Dak. I don't really put the blame on him. At this point, everybody knows what he is. Everybody knows that he's not very good. They know that he doesn't play very well against San Francisco. So, no, I don't really think Dak was to blame. I think he just is what he is. He's not a guy that's going to beat a great 49ers defense most of the time. But I do think that Cowboys defense obviously they should have played better, but people expected them to play better. Losing Trayvon Diggs, that definitely hurts, because when you lose your number one corner, you got to change everything. Your play calls, you don't have as much trust on the outside. But I do blame the defense for this one. Honestly, I think they've been considered the best defense in the league this year so far. they haven't been playing great teams up until San Francisco, so that might have had something to do with it. But yeah, I think they just laid an egg. Micah Parsons, he was invisible out there for pretty much most of the game. He was the guy that everyone thought could, change these big games, and he did not do that at all. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebound, especially this defense after getting punched in the mouth like that and then continuously getting punched the whole game. And for Mike McCarthy, a little bit of the blame obviously has to go his way. He just didn't get them ready. They were not ready to play that game on Sunday night in San Francisco. But as a whole, I'm blaming the defense for this one.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, they were viewed by most of the football public as kind of the strength of this football team. Like we all have questions about Mike McCarthy. There's plenty of questions, surrounding Dak Prescott and his previous performances against San Francisco. And this defense in the 3 matchups to this point in the last couple of years against San Francisco, this is by far the biggest egg they lay. They actually played pretty well the last couple of years. Just the offense was not able to get it done. So fair take by you, Eric. To you now, Devin, who do you think deserves the most blame for this Cowboys loss to San Francisco? This Cowboys bad loss to San Francisco, and considering the score, was it Dak, was it McCarthy, or was it the defense?
I'm gonna go with Dak, man. I don't know why people keep on beating the bush around Dak, man. He's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the dog. He's supposed to be the captain. He's supposed to be the guy supposed to make the best decisions for a quarterback. He's not. He can't. He doesn't. I don't know why. Is it the injury still in his mind? Is it mentally? It could be, honestly, but we are 2 years past this injury now, and we are still looking for Dak to at least taking the next leap of leading the Cowboys. Because the defense, we already knew that the 49ers is a high-power offense. Mike Shanahan is no joke when it comes to him calling plays. So it was already no matchup. And for the defense, once Diggs went down, we already knew that the defense was going to be exposed. You know what I mean? It was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now it's no longer trying to figure out where's Diggs flying at in the back end. Is now you only got to focus on Parsons now. So once you already got to focus on him where he at and learn how to make sure you can put good protection in front of him, Parsons is now eliminated. I don't care how good he is. I hate to say it, he's not a TJ Watt yet. You see how many years it took TJ Watt to actually become this guy, to actually become the guy that can beat double teams and maybe triple teams and learn how to take the hit coming off of a tight end. But we still looking for Dak Prescott. We already knew what type of play call Mike McCarthy was going to call. He's the same coach that he was in Green Bay. They got booted out, and he's the same coach that lied to the owner and said, "I'll just tell you anything just to get this job." So he's going to tell the media anything just to say, "I got this team prepared." So it's no reason to look at Mike McCarthy. It's now looking at Dak, and now I'm pretty sure every Cowboys fans are now scratching their head just saying, do we need to start looking for another quarterback soon?
That's interesting. It's funny. You almost, in a weird way, almost had a kind of an opposite take of Eric, because Eric's like, hey, we knew who Dak Prescott was, and your thing was we knew who McCarthy was. We knew the defense wasn't going to be as good without Diggs. That's really interesting. Finally, with you, Alfred, do you think this loss falls the most on the quarterback, the head coach, or the defense?
I don't think any one particular unit is to blame. I don't blame McCarthy. I don't blame Dak, and I don't blame the defense. As I said on this very program last week, the Niners had a 99.9% chance of winning this game.
You did.
When it comes to the Cowboys and matching up against the 49ers, they are superior in every single way, offense, defense, and special teams. You want to look at how versatile the 49ers is? Their defense, Trayvon Diggs was already out, so that already took a hit. Leighton Vander Esch went out in the middle of the game, which sunk their defense even more. You had Ray McLeod returning some decent kicks on special teams. You had Christian McCaffrey play. If he keeps this up, he's going to be the MVP. I also said that last week. He's still on a tear. 14 consecutive games with at least one touchdown. George Kittle has come back to life. When you have a team that not only has Christian McCaffrey, but they also have Deebo Samuel getting significant rush yards. That tells you a lot when your star wide receiver can also gain about 30 to 40 rush yards per game as well. So, I mean, it's versatile. Brendan Ayuk is doing his thing. Kyle Juszczyk has always been a weapon since he's been in the league. They were just superior. And I'm not taking anything away from the Cowboys because, like I said, the Cowboys are a good team. they're good but not great because, as I said last week, they're the second best in their division. They'll be in the playoffs when the season is over, but they were just outclassed in every single category. And of course, Brock Purdy has all the weapons. You want to look at the Niners defense. The reason why Dak had a horrible game, he had to contend with pressure from Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Dre Greenlaw the whole game. So that offensive line of Dallas was very outclassed as well. So I don't think you can put blame on any one particular part of the Cowboys. They just played a far superior team.
That's fair. That's fair. And you know, I actually forgot that you said 99% chance. I'm thinking, hey, look, if there's one thing I feel confident in, it's that it'd be kind of a defensive battle, not in the slide. I mean, from San Francisco's end, yes. From Dallas's end, not even close. So, you know, fair points to make across the board that, hey, Dallas may have just lost to certainly lost to a much better football team. I didn't think they were 32 points better, but evidently they, at least through one game, they are. Before we get to our scores, let's look at some comments here. Sincere Brown says, go Braves. So definitely contrary to what Alfred thinks as a Mets fan, I guarantee it. Shaheem Taylor says, I got to give Brock Purdy his credit. He's looking like the best quarterback in that division. Sincere Brown also said that I told y'all that the Cowboys was going to get smacked. He also says, how about a Niners and Bills Super Bowl? That's really interesting. That's maybe. I don't believe in the Bills as much as most do, but you know, we'll see. Sincere Brown says, hey, host, what do you think about Kenny Pickett? Do you think he can take the Steelers to the next level in the next 5 years? If he gets an OC, who knows? I'm not saying he's going to be a Super Bowl quarterback, but I got to see him get an actual professional NFL offensive coordinator. Then I'll make a strong judgment. But definitely a fair question on your part. I'll start with Eric because he went first. I think it's a great take by Eric. Listen, everybody knows out there I'm the Dak Prescott guy. I've been a Dak guy since his days at college. But listen, he has struggled against San Francisco. He has struggled in some of these bigger games, whether that's more on him, the play calling, or just the fact that San Francisco, as Alfred alluded to, is just a ridiculously great defense. But you made some fair points across the board. Devin, I thought an interesting take about saying, like, we sort of know what Dak is. We kind of knew the defense would regress, but that this falls on I'm sorry, we knew that McCarthy was rather, but this sort of falls, on the defense given, or not the defense. This falls on you. Was it McCarthy you mentioned, Devin? I apologize.
I put it on Dak.
On Dak, I'm sorry, you fell on Dak. So yeah, that's a fair take on your part. I mean, listen, this is kind of a game where the elite of the elite quarterbacks do have to kind of put the team on their back. Again, I don't know if Dak's necessarily that guy to do so. I think we saw last night he's not. But definitely a good point by you, a great take by you. And finally, Alfred, I'm definitely giving you the 200 points because you basically called this last week. Look, it probably doesn't fall in one group. It probably, if we're being fair, falls on it's like 33% across the board, and then maybe put the 0.1% on like Jerry Jones or somebody for the roster construction. But listen, San Francisco is a better roster. They got a better coach. There's folks debating today if Brock Purdy is better than Dak Prescott. I'm not one who subscribes to that, even as a Brock Purdy guy. But listen, those are, you called it. You called that San Francisco was going to smoke Dallas, and you were certainly right in that regard. So great takes across the board from everybody here. Let's move on to the second round. Let's look at our second round rules real quick. A great take, everything gets doubled, folks. A great take gives you 400 points. A good take, 200 points. An okay take, 100. And a bad take, still staying there at 0. Move on to our second topic regarding a team in Dallas's division, the Philadelphia Eagles, who took care of business against the Los Angeles Rams 23-14 with a dominant defensive performance and offensively, again, scoring 23, but that score was not indicative of how great they were on that side of the ball in terms of just bullying the Rams up front with having, in my view, the best offensive line in football. Jalen Hurts played maybe his best game of the season, and the Eagles maintained their pace with the 49ers in that sort of race for who the best team in the NFC is with a 5-0 record. So I'll start with you this time, Devin. Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFC?
No. Honestly, I got to give them second best right now. Don't get me wrong. Philadelphia is doing their thing. They're able to keep their undefeated streak alive by just managing the game, honestly, the first couple of weeks. Because, we expect that Jalen Hurts was going to throw out some big numbers this year, especially having the full season with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith together going into training camp. So, I expect that Jalen Hurts, and having that big contract, I really thought that Jalen Hurts was really going to really show out this year because I was putting him second best quarterback behind Patrick Mahomes. But the way Brock Purdy and Mike Shanahan in this offense is just really clicking, even on the defensive side for the 49ers. Like Alfred just said, they are really showing that they are outclassed. Like, they are the top tier team that you're looking at from all three sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams, to say, like, how do you beat the San Francisco 49ers? You got to hope that I hate to say it, that Brock Purdy have an injury-riddled season that really puts him out. Or if not, Brock Purdy is really going to show us where he left off of last year, man, and showing that he can be a top-tier quarterback the way Tom Brady kind of got himself out the mud from the bottom of the roster and everything, because nobody didn't really have Brock Purdy on their radar 2 years ago. It was all about Trey Lance. Is Trey Lance the guy? And then next thing you know, Brock Purdy came around and said, I'm taking this opportunity and run with it. And the 49ers, you can just tell that once the 49ers lost Brock Purdy last year, their only surviving chance was their defense. Now that you see that Brock Purdy is here and fully healthy and all cylinders is clicking, they throwing up points. They're able to beat teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Dallas Cowboys, and blowout fashion kind of. And even the Steelers still had a good defensive game, but the 49ers were still able to show them like we are the top tier team. So in my opinion, right now, it's just the 49ers, hands down, are the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they like I said, I think they have the best roster in the sport. I'm not quite sure where their weakness is. Not necessarily that Philly has this glaring weakness, although I would argue their pass defense, which wasn't exposed yesterday or the other day too much because their offensive line, the Rams' offensive line rather, really struggled in that game. That is something that San Francisco can potentially expose. So great points made by you, Devin. To Alfred, I think I kind of know where your answer is going to be, but I'll ask you anyway. Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFC?
Second best in the NFC, and I'll point the reason for my reasoning to the numbers. You talk about the offense and the ability to score points. 49ers hands down. There have been 3 times this year where the Philadelphia Eagles have scored 25 points or fewer out of 5 games, whereas opposed to the 49ers, their lowest point total in a win was 30 points. So already the 49ers have shown that they can score more points. They've consistently put 30 points or more on the board every single time. The second being, I believe that on offense, you have more dynamic weapons on offense in San Francisco than you do Philadelphia. Philadelphia does not have a running back that can match Christian McCaffrey. If you were to say that, I would laugh at you. Also, when you look at that receiving core, you have Ayuk, you have Samuel, and then of course you have George Kittle, and Dallas Goedert is a veteran, but he's nowhere near George Kittle. Then you want to compare defenses, like I said in the last segment. You've got Greenlaw, Warner, and Bosa that will all hit you hard. And then even the special teams game, I got to give the Duke on special teams also to the 49ers. So I got to go, and I also got to agree with Devin. The Eagles, their offense, Jalen Hurts, they win because they manage games. They if you look at time of possession, they like to have these long drives that burn time off the clock. The 49ers, they try to score as quickly as possible. So, I'm going the 49ers. I believe the 49ers are the more talented team.
You make fair points, and you notice, yes, you brought up the long drive of Philadelphia, and San Francisco kind of like to score in bunches. Yeah, I remember that game Sunday night against Dallas. It felt like they were taking some big chunk plays, big shots down the field to kind of get that 7-0 lead, and then kind of ride their defense around, ride the momentum that they created when the field position battle, and that's what they did all night long. That's what they've done all season long through the first 5 games. So great points made by you, Alfred. I'll finish with you, Eric. Your thoughts again? Doing a segment on a team that you hate as a Giants fan. I share your sentiment as a Steelers fan. I do not like the Philadelphia Eagles with any fiber of my being, or really any Philly sports for that matter. But do you think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC through the first 5 games of the year?
Absolutely not. They're good. I mean, they're a great team, but I think when you just look at the 49ers, this might be over-exaggerating a little bit, but that Sunday night game, they looked like the perfect football team. Just the amount of physicality they had, the play calling, Purdy dishing it out there, making every single right read. I don't know. I don't really see a hole in the 49ers team right now. I think injuries would be the thing that's going to stop them the most. But I even have faith in Sam Darnold in the backup spot. I think that he is a lot more serviceable for one game, not for a whole season as a starter. But I think if he comes in relief for Purdy in a game where he got hurt, say in that same situation as last year, with the team, the guys around him and the play calling that the 49ers have, I think even Sam Darnold could do decent in that offense. I think, honestly, most quarterbacks could. I wasn't really high on Purdy for a while just because of the fact that the Niners were so good. I almost felt like the Niners were just bringing Purdy up, but I don't know, I have to admit it now. I think Brock Purdy's joining that elite category, and I think he will be there very soon. And like you guys said, the Eagles, they've kind of just been managing games, sitting on the ball. They had close games against the Vikings. They had a close game against Washington, and they had one against New England as well. And none of those three teams are looking like they're top teams in the league by any means. So, yeah, I don't think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I'm kind of just repeating what you guys said, but I promise I had that thought before this. I already have my future placed on the 49ers. So, yeah, give me San Fran all day over Philly. I'm excited for that game. I'm hoping that San Fran just wallops the Eagles because I know that the Giants won't.
Yeah, no, that's not in the, listen, your Giants got smoked by San Francisco. My Steelers got smoked by San Francisco. Who knows? Devin's Ravens may get smoked by San Francisco, I think, on Christmas later this year. But the beauty of this is, ladies and gentlemen, is that the 49ers and Eagles will play in the city of brotherly love in week 13, December 3rd. It's the big game on Fox. So we'll get to see them, duke it out. But something you all mentioned that I think is interesting, and obviously knock on wood that this doesn't happen as far as the injuries are concerned. But if you look at the numbers, San Francisco's been one of the most injured teams in the last half decade, and a lot of that's been because of their style of play. It's very physical. It's very kind of hit you in the mouth. Philadelphia is to a certain degree as well, but for some odd reason, San Francisco seemed to deal with more injuries. Before we get to our scores through the first couple of rounds, let's look at some comments here. Let's see. Sincere Brown says the Eagles are a good all-around team, but they will only go as far as Jalen Hurts takes them. Well, if that's as far as last year, then that's within a couple of throws of winning the Super Bowl. So that's, they're in a good spot if that's the case. He also says maybe Eagles might go to the Super Bowl since WrestleMania is going to be there. Who knows? Maybe they'll get Jason Kelsey out there for all I know. Sincere says the Niners are the highest scoring team in the NFL. And Clint Alexander says, burn that Daniel Jones jersey, bro. He doesn't like it. Eric, your thoughts?
I'm loyal to a fault. What can I say? I'm gonna ride with my guys until they're traded or cut or they sign somewhere else.
Aren't we all loyal to the fault? That's kind of the curse and the blessing of being a fan. That's how it goes. I'll start with, so let's see. Devin went first. Great take by Devin. Again, I'm certainly with you. I'm with all of you for that matter. That the Niners are better than the Eagles today. That's not even a shot at Philly. I think just like San Francisco's on a different level. But a great take by you, Devin, talking about how it's, again, like I sort of just mentioned a second ago, like it probably take injuries, which again, knock on wood, doesn't happen, but it probably take that in order to stop the 49ers in their tracks, because man, they are on an absolute roll right now. To Alfred Parsard Jr., again, great take yourself as well. Man, bring out the stats, bring out the numbers with the high scoring offense and the great defense as well. And Philadelphia kind of playing a more ugly style of football, which, look, hey, I can't hate it. It's got them just as far as it's gotten San Francisco. Both teams are 5-0. But it's a good take, great take by you, Eric. The only reason I gave you a good take is because you're out here mentioning like Sam Darnold. Like, well, what's Sam Darnold do? I mean, listen, I like Sam. I really liked him coming out of that 2018 draft. But listen, this is about Brock Purdy. It's about Sturdy Purdy, baby. This is about the Niners. You out here bringing out backup quarterbacks. I don't hear anybody bringing up Marcus Mariota in Philadelphia. That was listen. I like unique takes. I like outside the box takes. That was outside of the sphere or whatever. That was a weird one, Eric. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not gonna lie to you.
I mean, maybe if the Niners had a solid backup quarterback last year, they would have been in the Super Bowl instead of Philly. That was a back and forth game up until that injury happened. I mean, say they had Gardner Minshew out there, instead of Josh Johnson?
Josh Johnson got hurt. So, yeah, it was just a terrible turn of events for San Francisco in that game. No question about it. Who knows? Maybe they'd have won the NFC Championship game. Sincere Brown is talking about you, Eric. He says he's trying to bring Danny Dimes back from the grave. He says, I think it's not his fault. It's the O-line. Yeah, we were talking about that before the show. I'm kind of with you, Sincere. No question about that. So, there's our score. So, for the third round, this is the final round involving all three contestants. The last two will make it to the final round in a sort of winner take all matchup, 10,000 points or no points. But first, let's look at our third round rules. Again, everything is doubled from the second round. Everything's doubled from round to round. A great take nets you 800 points, a good take 400, an okay take 200, and a bad take, again, you get absolutely nothing. Let's talk about that game last night in the city of sin, Las Vegas, Nevada, where the Green Bay Packers fell to the Raiders 17-13 in what was, I wouldn't even call necessarily a defensive battle, more so than it was just a poorly quarterbacked game by both teams. Props to Jimmy Garoppolo. He made the plays late. Devontae Adams was barely involved, and the Raiders still were able to get the W over the Packers. Jordan Love struggled badly, throwing for barely over 100 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. I think he had a QBR below 15, a passer rating in the 30. So a bad night for Jordan Love. And frankly, before I even start with you, Alfred, to just give sort of my mini take, I'm not going to lie, the way that Green Bay called that game in terms of not really letting Love take shots down the field, putting the ball in A.J. Dillon's belly seemed like over and over and over, not really trusting their quarterback, said a lot about where they're at. So I'll start with you, Alfred, as a guy of the fan of a team that took Green Bay's Hall of Fame quarterback and put them in the spot where they have Jordan Love. Obviously, that was by design for the Packers' purpose. Do you think the Packers will be in the quarterback market in 2024?
I don't think so. And here's why I don't think so. Everybody has to remember, this is Jordan Love's first season of actual NFL game action. Similar to when Aaron Rodgers got drafted and he had to sit behind Brett Favre for a number of years. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a number of years, and mentoring and practices can only take you so far. But that'll never prepare you alone for NFL game action during the regular season. You can take all the preseason snaps you want. It's not gonna prepare you for the competitive atmosphere that is NFL regular season football. Jordan Love, it's just growing pains. And if they're going to be in the market for a quarterback for next season, then they basically say, well, we gave up on this kid after one season, which is not very common in the NFL. We've seen bad quarterbacks, and not to say that he's going to be bad, because, again, this is only his first season of being an NFL starter, but we've seen bad quarterbacks a la Jamarcus Russell and the Raiders get somewhat of a leash of a couple of seasons before the team moves on from him. I just think it's a matter of seasoning. Again, the kid never took he took very few snaps through a number of years in the regular season when Rodgers was there. And not to mention the Packers, they went into that game banged up. There was no Aaron Jones last night. So, it's just I don't want to, I hate to say it, but they're in a rebuild despite the fact that they had a good first couple of weeks. I don't see the Packers as a playoff team. So, again, I think it's just growing pains. I don't think they're going to give up on him after just one season of being a starter. And again, we've seen several quarterbacks in the league that became Hall of Famers struggle the first year or two. Not that I'm saying that Love's going to be a Hall of Famer, but again, we've seen quarterbacks struggle in their rookie year, second year, and then by year 3 or 4, they're putting up solid numbers. So. I say give Jordan Love some time. But I can't imagine the Packers ready to get another quarterback, especially when it was safe to say, looking at the beginning of the season before the year started, you couldn't have expected them to be competitive. Not after losing Rodgers and Allen Lazard. So.
Yeah. Again, both of them are New York Jets now. Obviously, one is rehabbing, but who knows? Maybe he'll be back by season's end. You never know. Just sneak a little Jets talk there. But no, that's fair points. Listen, yeah, you mentioned Jamarcus Russell. The only refute I would have to that is Jamarcus Russell was the first pick in the draft, and that was his rookie year. So you kind of had to give him time, and obviously he did not come anywhere close to panning out into what someone hoped him to be. To you, Eric, now, do you think the Packers, given Jordan Love's struggles through the first 5 games and some pretty underwhelming performances, do you think by 2024, if they're bad enough, that they'll be in the quarterback market potentially to draft one?
I think it would take a lot of very bad performances from Jordan for them to give up on him this quickly. I think we've seen the potential with him. He has crazy arm talent. He can move really well. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Seems like his teammates like him a lot. So he seems like a guy that you want to build around. It's just going to be a matter of, can he eliminate those mistakes, start making better decisions out there, reading the defense a little bit better, just kind of controlling the offense as a whole. But like Alfred said, I think the Packers aren't really in a urgent win now situation, maybe like the Jets are. Their roster isn't quite that good. So I don't think it really hurts them to build around Jordan for a couple more years, unless every game for the rest of the year looks like the one last night did. I don't see a reason to move on from Jordan yet. I still think he could be a very, very, very good quarterback in this league. And I did go to high school with him, so I'm a little biased as well.
That's interesting. I did not know you went to high school with Jordan Love. There you go. So listen, I respect the loyalty to him. Listen, I completely understand. Okay, listen, within a 1 hour radius of where I live, Jason Witten went to high school. So listen, I understand the loyalty to the hometown there. To you, Devin, finally, do you think the Packers, given Jordan Love's struggles, may or may not be in the quarterback market in 2024?
Are we talking about as going into the draft as a looking
just the off season?
I think you keep your options open. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you have to completely give up on Jordan Love, because that's not the question. The question is, should they bring in some maybe a mentor, maybe a veteran quarterback that can kind of mentor him to actually get him through, the rough patches, anything in that nature. But far as I think the Packers, yes, you got to keep your options open. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that you got to completely go away from them, but what if let's just say hypothetically, a Justin Herbert or somebody come trade bait now? You're not going to actually just be like, man, I don't know. Should we not think about Justin Herbert over Jordan Love? This is something we need to think about, or I mean. But if a good quarterback is out there, yes, you should keep your eye on them and try to think about, is this the best fit for your team? Like I said, I'm not completely giving up on Jordan Love yet, but I think to have another guy ready underneath for Jordan Love, or put some fire under Jordan Love, will make him kind of put a little bit of pressure onto him a little bit more. Maybe he'll come into the offseason a little bit different. I'm not saying he didn't come to offseason prepared this year, but maybe he'll come in there a little different, because now he got a target on his back. He got somebody that's looking to take his job or anything in that nature. So I just think that we most definitely keep your options open, but I'm not completely giving up on Jordan Love.
That's fair. Although I would say that, and I understand he wasn't playing the last 3 years. That's why this is kind of like in a weird way, his rookie year. Although it is year 4, and he did get the chance to sit behind 3 years, and so did Rodgers. And we saw flashes that first year in Green Bay where we saw some potential of a really special player. But that guy again, who's with the New York Jets now, he was a veteran quarterback, and he was with Jordan Love. You can even tell him Jordan Love's like throwing motion and footwork at times. It reminds you a lot of Aaron Rodgers to a certain respect. So listen, they did have that veteran quarterback there, to be fair, but I understand what you're saying. A lot of comments, won't be able to get to all of them, but let's look at a few here. Let's see. Shaheem Taylor says he played against the Chiefs last year and lost by 3, Alfred. And he says, you don't watch my Packers. So he's a Packers fan. That's interesting. Yeah, got a Packers fan defending his quarterback. Clint Alexander says he needs more reps for certain. Jordan Love does, and the coaching staff needs to be better at putting him in positions to succeed, utilizing what he does best. Shaheem, again, the Packers fan, says Packers will keep Love next year. We have 2 receivers that are 2 years in, a rookie tight end, and a defense that just can't stay healthy. One more comment. Sincere Brown says Jordan has to work on his awareness. He keeps going for the home run ball too much. You can't give up on him just yet. He has to just work on his decision making. He's young. He looks better than Bryce. He definitely looks better than Bryce, although I'd argue that he's certainly, and the Packers offensive line hasn't been as good as I thought they'd be this year, but his offensive line is certainly better. I think every offensive line is better than the one in Carolina, maybe even the Giants offensive line. The Panthers O-line is really bad, and Bryce obviously is a 5'9" rookie, so there is obviously some of the physical limitations there, no question about that. I'll start with you, Alfred. I'm actually going to give you an okay take here. Okay, but the only reason I say that is because you were talking about how it is his first year starting, but again, I would make the case that, hey, it's year 4. Again, we saw Aaron Rodgers, we saw flashes from him rookie year. Even though the Packers went 6-10, I wouldn't. You talk about the Packers aren't in a contending situation. Well, the Packers weren't in a contending situation in 08, and still we saw Rodgers. I mean, I was looking at his highlight tape from that year the other day. I'm like, oh my God, like we should have seen this coming from a mile away. We haven't really seen that with Jordan Love, and you can make the case he's actually looked worse and worse through the first 5 games of the season thus far. So there's a little bit of a concern in that regard. Eric, I'm going to give you a good take. So you're tied with Alfred here at 800 points. Not just because you went to high school with Jordan Love. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. But listen, your belief in sort of the tangible aspects of him in terms of the arm strength, in terms of the size. I don't know if I totally agree with you in the decision-making department. It seemed like that's kind of regressed. Certainly was in a bad spot last night. But I kind of understand where you're coming from to a certain degree. So I'll give you the good take there for your take. And finally, Devin's in first place. He's moving on to the final round with 1,000 points. Again, solid take there. You're talking about give him time, maybe bring in a new veteran. That's an interesting take I haven't thought about before. But this is a first in the history of the 8 o'clock spot. So Devin's automatically, he's moving on to the final round. We've got a tie here between Eric and Alfred, so we don't have anything in the rules to sort of like prevent this. So what do you say? You want to do like a coin toss or anything, like a best 2 out of 3? You want to do something like that? Because I was going to say,
I was going to say,
I got a coin right here, but
why don't you just put all 3 in the final round?
You know what? Done. Here we go. We just make up rules on the fly for the 8 o'clock spot. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. So, final round of the 8 o'clock spot. This is the first. We usually say the top 2 point getters, but as it happened, again, we got 2 guys tying there. So this should be fun. Final round rules. Again, this is a winner take all. The winner gets 10,000 points and really puts themselves in position to really move up the leaderboards fast and quick. The loser comes home empty-handed. So 2 people today will come home empty-handed, and somebody will come home with 10,000 points and the winner of this episode and put themselves in a good spot in the standings. We'll move on to a game involving Alfred's Jets, and we actually talked about this on the 8 o'clock spot very early, one of our earlier shows, if not our first show. Sean Payton ripped Nathaniel Hackett, former head coach of the Broncos, to the media before the season started, saying it was the worst coaching job he's ever seen in the history of the National Football League. And here comes Nathaniel Hackett, now the OC of the Jets. And the Jets walk into Denver, walking the mile high. The defense plays great. Russell has a bad game up until a little bit of the fourth quarter, but then he fumbles the game away. Zach Wilson, aside from a red zone interception, was pretty good throughout most of the day. Breece Hall played well. So a good win by the Jets, keep themselves sort of on that pace to potentially steal a wild card spot. But they get revenge on Nathaniel Hackett. So I'll start this time with, they get revenge on Sean Payton, rather. So I'll start with you, Eric. Do you think that Sean Payton is doing a worse coaching job this year? I didn't think this was possible than Nathaniel Hackett did in 2022.
No, I can't say that. He obviously hasn't done a very good job, but last year with Hackett was just like something that I don't know if any of us have ever seen something like that. And the fact that it seemed like every game for the first 10 weeks was on primetime, that didn't help the fact either. The whole nation was seeing it, which probably piled on a little bit with Hackett's Broncos. But no, I don't think Peyton's been that bad. I haven't seen as many common sense lapses, I guess you could say, or just terrible game management. I feel like with the Broncos this year, their defense has just taken a massive step back, which is really confusing to me. I don't really get it. I thought they were going to be a very solid defense again. They have had some injuries, but I still thought they'd be okay. I think most of the blame goes on Russ. I am not a Russ guy at all. I think when you're the quarterback of an NFL football team, you've got to be inspiring. You've got to be a leader. You've got to be one of the guys. They have to be able to rally around you. And I think Russ is the opposite of all of those things. And it kind of just deflates the whole mood of everybody in that locker room. And it just kind of gives everybody less hope. The guy that they're following is just a deadbeat, doesn't even give his teammates his phone numbers. And his confidence got absolutely zapped last year. And to be fair, Russ hasn't been playing as bad as he did last year, besides the Jets game. But at the end of the day, I just think he's not a leader. He's not a great teammate. And when your quarterback is not those things, it's hard to be a good team in this league.
Considering some of the things coming out of Seattle ever since he left there, from Beast Mode, from Richard Sherman, from Pete Carroll, from KJ Wright was making some comments last year. Yeah, that definitely validates what you're saying about the leadership struggles there by Russ. I'll go to you now, Devin. Do you think Sean Payton, who I think we'd all agree here is going to the Hall of Fame whenever he retires, 5 years after he retires, he's going to Canton in all likelihood. Do you think Sean Payton is actually doing a worse job this year than Nathaniel Hackett did a year ago?
He's doing the same exact job, but just a little bit better than Nathaniel Hackett. And don't get me wrong, in the X's and O's, Nathaniel Hackett was just terrible. You know what I mean? He did not really know how to manage a game, and you can just tell that, that was his first year being a head coach. Just go to Sean Payton. I'm not a big Sean Payton fan. I'm really not. I'm not a guy that really quits on his team when things wasn't going right down in New Orleans, and then you come up into Denver and you expect things to go just your way. No, my guy. Did you pay attention to the Broncos last year? It was a lot of things other than Nathaniel Hackett that was going sideways. As my man Eric just said, Russ was the top thing of things going sideways for the Denver Broncos. What did Sean Payton do when he came? As soon as he came as the head coach for the Denver Broncos, he called out Russ. Stop doing this. You shouldn't be kissing babies. You're not being a politic. The man is trying to sell tickets. He's trying his best to get the whole Bronco nation to still come there. So, yes, he needs to go ahead and kiss babies, shake a little bit of hands, be in the public so he can get these people, so he can be like, hey, I'm lying to you, but come pay our salary so we can make sure that we can keep the Denver Broncos relevant. Sean Payton, no, you come in here, you want to say, oh, this is wrong and this, you want to throw the tablet, you want to keep calling your quarterback. No, my guy, that's not the way, as Eric just said, leadership. It's not how you're supposed to lead your team. So I think that Sean Payton he has not did a better job than what Nathaniel Hackett did last year. You come into a team that's roster is not constructed really that good. You lose your top pass rusher in Randy Gregory, who said, no, I want out. I'm done. I don't want to be in this shit show no more. So I feel like Sean Payton, man, he's not doing a good job. He's not really doing a better job than Nathaniel Hackett.
Interesting. I had never thought about the aspect about how he left New Orleans when things were starting to get a little shaky there. Maybe who knows with Derek Carr now where they'd be if he was still there, but we'll never know. To you, Alfred, finally, again, this involves your team, so I think this would hit you different given the fact that Nat Hackett is now your offensive coordinator with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Do you think that Sean Payton has actually managed to do a worse job at the Broncos this year than Nathaniel Hackett did in 2022?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is, keep my offensive coordinator's name out of your mouth. That's number one. Number two, Sean Payton, he won a Super Bowl with the Saints, but he's always been a guy. He quit on his team early. He got caught up in scandals, putting bounties on other players. And now he wants to criticize the incumbent that he took over from. He's on pace to actually do worse than Nathaniel Hackett. You look at the games that they played this year, 5 games already. They're 1-4. The only win came against a rotten Chicago Bears team that couldn't hold on to a lead. They've struggled with the Commanders. They lost to the lowly Raiders on opening night. They got mollywopped by 50 points by the Dolphins. I mean, Sean Payton so far through 5 weeks has nothing to be proud about, nothing to hang his hat on, and should be embarrassed. And again, people are going to say, oh, they came back from the Bears. Yeah, but the Bears are rotten. So one rotten team beat another. Somebody had to win that game. So you want to talk about Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett didn't have much to work with last year. If everybody remembers, Jerry Jeudy was injured most of the year. And they acquired a quarterback whose claim to fame he's still hanging on from a Super Bowl win from 10 plus years ago. Who's not the same quarterback since he left Pete Carroll's system and got exposed. Russell Wilson is a system quarterback. Pete Carroll's system obviously worked for many, many years, and now he's in a new place with new players. As we've heard, he's not the most sociable teammate. He'd rather hang out on social media with his famous wife than hang out with his teammates after practice. So I mean, and then again, they just traded Randy Gregory, who was their best defensive lineman. So I mean, Sean Payton will be probably lucky if he gets 2 more wins this season. I mean, that team is probably at the bottom in the cellar of the AFC West. I don't think they're better than the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs and whoever else is in that division. But again, he wanted to criticize Nathaniel Hackett. Because remember, Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach. Nathaniel Hackett calls the shots on offense. That's why Breece Hall ran for 107.
10 seconds left, Al.
Boys. So yeah, I think he has potential to do worse than Nathaniel Hackett this year. Sorry, I'm just passionate because you got to keep my offensive coordinator's name out of his mouth.
I understand. Hey, you're taking up for your guy. I respect that. Listen, he's done a decent job given the situation, given the offensive line, and given Zach Wilson there. So I give you
his defense is so bad it makes Zach Wilson look like a decent quarterback.
Well, look, Zach played well against a good Kansas City's defense. To be fair, but I see where you're coming from. A few comments here, and then we'll get to our winner. Let's see. Clint Alexander has a solution. He says, next time you have a tiebreaker question for advances to the last round, whoever answers first advances. So maybe like a trivia question. I don't know. We'll get that ironed out for the 8 o'clock spot next week. There's no question about it. There's a lot of comments that agree with kind of what y'all are saying. But we do have a winner in the very first and who knows, potentially only three panelists final round in the history of the 8 o'clock spot. The winner for this week is somebody who has won before in the history of the 8 o'clock spot. Alfred Parsard Jr. is your champion of the 8 o'clock spot this week. How you feeling, Al?
Pretty good. I know I said that the Sean Payton should keep Nathaniel Hackett's name out of his mouth, but I'm calling out Barry Grant Jr. He needs to come back to this show so I can whoop him one more time.
Thanks. Shots fired at the points leader, Barry Grant Jr. But yeah, Alfred is our champion. I'll start with you, Eric. Super fast, man. How you feeling? First episode of the show.
Man, I was a little nervous at first, can't lie, but it was a great time chopping it up with y'all. I hope I can be back. Hopefully my work schedule allows it. And I'm just going to fire off a crazy take before I leave. I would trade away Micah Parsons if it got me Caleb Williams right now, just because I never think Dak's going to get him over the hump. And I think the Cowboys roster is as good as it could possibly be without, minus the quarterback position. So I think you've got to do something. That's my crazy take.
That is an insane take. I'm just telling you right now, Eric. Devin, again, the losses just pile up, man. Your Orioles are struggling. Your Ravens lost to my Steelers. Now you lose the 8 o'clock spot. It's not been good for you and your teams, man. Your reaction?
I just can't get rid of the sickness. I just can't get rid of it, boy. I tell you, you just can't let me shine, man. It's just a stormy day in Maryland.
Yeah. That's a fact. Hey, listen, that's a fact. It's rough days, but you know what? You'll come back. I know you will. You're a great participant. So is Eric and Alfred. Once again, the champion. I think we have the leaderboard. Let me go in and load it here real quick before we get out of here. I've been able to update it at max speed, super fast. Here we go. I think we've got it. Because you are catching up to Barry, Alfred. I'm just going to tell you right now, you are gaining on the man who likes to call himself the wrench. Is this it? Right here. Okay, there we go. Alfred's in second place, retaining a second place spot, 35,000 points. Gaining on Barry Grant Jr. is getting a little dicey. I'm just saying right now. Then you got Devin is still in third place, followed by Mike Dalton, Adam, John Rivera, Alex Johnson. There you are, Eric. Getting on the leaderboard, though. You're on the leaderboard. Chance to maybe come back in the future and make it happen. But that is all we have for the 8 o'clock spot. Be sure to catch us next week, next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel, as well as on Twitter. You got some great contestants, great stuff as always. We hope to see you next week. Hope to have another great game next week. Once again, congratulations, Alfred. Great job to Eric and to Devin once again. And until next week on the 8 o'clock spot, we will see you then. God bless you all. Peace out. And big trust, Devin. Big trust, ladies and gentlemen.